I'd like to call to order the March meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board in the community room. It's Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 at 5 o'clock. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Member DeLon? Member Cuban?
Here.
Member Mason? Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Devin Mitchell?
Okay, we've got two members. Steve Mason will be joining us by Zoom, and then Catherine Mitchell has joined us by Zoom. Okay, the first item is consider approval of the minutes for the February 20th, 2024 board meeting. As everybody should have a chance to have them in front of them. Do we have any changes, corrections?
Make a motion for their approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and second. All those in favor of adoption say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes approved. Next item is financials for the month ending February 28th, 2024. Mr. Denton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cuban. Just to kind of let you know, we've already started the budget preparation process for the next fiscal year. That'd be fiscal year 24-25. We'll be rolling out some more information to the board about that, but just to keep in mind that if there are any items or board initiatives that you would like to implement, we'd love to hear feedback from you and go ahead and make sure we can get those included in the budget. So where we are today, looking at, we've completed 8 full months of this current fiscal year 24. So turning on to page 17 of your board packet, this is the statement of net position as of February 29th, 2024. Something we talk about, we'll be talking a lot about during the budget, and we've talked a lot about historically, is what goes into setting rates for the Frankfurt Plant Board, and there are 4 key pieces. 1 is the operating expenses that we have. 2 is the amount of infrastructure investment we need. 3 is the amount of debt service on debt that is issued for large capital projects. And the 4th piece is cash reserves and what's needed to keep a sufficient level of that. So I'm going to walk through and kind of highlight some of those 4 pieces as we go. So looking here, line 65, you can see as of the end of February, we had just under $236 million in total assets, with our largest single category, line 45, being property, plant, and equipment, of just under $146 million. You can see here there are one of the largest changes in our assets year over year was that property, plant, and equipment. So we're looking at February of 24 versus February 23. We take what we've invested and then back out accumulated depreciation to give you a net change of 10.3. But what you don't see in the detail is that in this 1 year period, we've invested $17.5 million in investments. That's a very large number, historically large number, showing that we're putting money back in the system. When you take out depreciation of 7.3, you get that change of 10.3 for the year. One of the other large changes you'll see is between cash and investments between year over year. You can see we're down $5.3 million year over year in investments. This is something we covered during our budget for this current year. The plant board, we are investing more in our assets than we are able to generate in cash. That is on purpose. We're trying to keep rates relatively stable to minimize the impact to our customers, but we also have significant investment in infrastructure. So in order to do those 2 things, we have to draw down cash. So that was known and is a plan for this year. So that kind of explains the difference year over year in cash. Let's look at total liabilities on line 135. Total liabilities of $105 million. And then if you take your assets minus your liabilities, you see net position. Total net position at line 155 of $130 million. And then you add your liabilities and net position together, equal your assets of just under $236 million. So that's where we are as far as our balance sheet for the period. I'd like to just kind of move over and focus briefly on the financial performance of the plant board for the first 8 months. Looking on page 22, this is the company-wide statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position. So this combines all 3 divisions, finances together into one financial statement. You'll notice we are doing well. I should say we're within budget parameters on revenue and expenses. So I'd like to focus in our year-over-year performance. Our revenue is up about 1.5%. This is something we've talked about for a long time. We have relatively low growth, if almost no growth, in our electric and water usage, and we're maintaining pretty flat in telecom as well. So a 1.5% increase in revenue versus a 5.3% increase in expenses. And those two are going in the opposite direction, which is, puts pressure on future rate decisions. When you look at what is the main increase year over year in expenses, it's wholesale power costs. It's about $3.3 million above prior year, and that is just about what our wholesale power cost is. That's up 3.3 or 11% year over year. So overall, that's where we are for these first 8 months, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
John, Jason,
Okay.
Catherine, Steve? For, what do you, in looking, don't want to preempt, in looking what you've seen the first 8 months and getting ready for the budget process, in terms of inflation and things we've seen, Travis talked last month about, like the transformer costs, things like that. What are you seeing in terms of those things moderating, or do we think we're still going to be looking at that kind of inflation on equipment and everything, or?
It is not raising at the same rate we saw a year ago when we were preparing for this current 24 fiscal year. So year over year, we're up 5%. It's definitely has come down as far as the rate of inflation. So, but things are continuing still to increase in price. We'll put all that into our budget numbers. The current year budget to actual, we're doing better than expected. Some of that is on payroll side. We have got jobs that were planned to be filled and have not, or team members that have left for other opportunities and we've not filled. Benefits were down a little bit as well, but we also, that's not accounting for the unfunded pension and liability that we book in June of each year. So I think when we book that, that'll tighten up as well. So I think we're going to finish the year better than expected budget to actual, but still we are not performing as well as a prior year.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to accept the financials? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Financially accepted. Thank you, sir. Next item is item 3.1, consider approval of performance and payment bonds for broadband deployment grant assistance agreements. We're going to talk about this, but let me just say the bottom line was this is something we didn't necessarily plan on happening. The state is requiring this, and I get it. The state wants to make sure that this is for the 880 homes that we got the grant that we're going to be adding additional service for people in the county. But the state's basically wanting, in essence, they claim it's for us, but in reality, it's protecting their money. So if for whatever reason the project doesn't get done, there's a bond there to get the project done. Is that a fair way of saying it?
Yeah, that's correct.
So we've got this. I think it comes down to, I hate to say it, we either do it or we don't take the money. And there's 880 people who are hoping they're going to get broadband, so I don't know that there's much option. This isn't just us. This is anybody that's getting this money. So with that, why don't you give us the rest of the good news?
I'll do it. Good afternoon. As the board recalls, we have executed 7 grant assistance agreements to extend broadband service to unserved areas in Franklin County. The state requires that the grant projects be fully collateralized by way of a performance and payment bond to the authority in the amount of 100% of the project cost, covering all labor and materials furnished on the project. I'll answer any questions you have. We also have Ben Dykes, Charlie Hamilton with Marsh McLean. That's kind of helped us through the process, and they answer any questions as well.
And you all shop this around to various people to see the best rate we could get?
They did. They can probably go into more detail, but I believe they reached out to 13 different companies, and they did only got one response, but I think that's has a lot to do with just ours is kind of more of a one-off.
And for us to take this blanket is cheaper than if we want. We're already, Hans, correct me, as a part of our normal contracting, we make sure that our vendors are covered in terms of performance in case they don't do the job.
Yes, sir.
This, unfortunately, is an extra layer somewhat, but we can either require them to all go out and buy stuff, which they pass on the cost to us, or we can do one blanket, correct?
Yes, sir, you're correct. You're correct.
So this is, of all the bad options, this is the best of the bad options.
And let me ask you a question. If we had asked the contractors, some of which we have existing agreements with, if we had asked them it would essentially be a change order in the contract, and could that possibly open up more costs for us if they want to start opening up the contract and renegotiating rates now or not? Is that
Yes.
Is that an issue?
They would want to recoup their their costs that they paid for the bonds, which
Okay.
they would pay a much higher rate.
Right, okay.
They'd want, I think what John and Sue's getting, is they'd want to recoup at least that much,
Yeah.
and maybe
If
more.
not
Yeah,
more.
Yeah.
they'll pad the
Right.
pocket a little bit.
Once the door's open, then,
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was the total amount Don was covering?
$178,000.
What was the total amount that the bond was covering?
Oh, the total cost of the project, which is $13 million, just north of that.
1.25%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Steve,
Mr.
Catherine, you were in on the call the other day, so,
Yes, and so because of that, and also some follow-up memos, I know how thoroughly the staff analyzed this, to show us what truly is the best option, and understand, I mean, the state wants to make sure these projects happen, and that the grantees fulfill it. So it's, it's no fun spending more money than we thought at the outset, but I do think that the proposed motion is the most financially smart decision to make.
Steve?
No, I agree with Catherine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what else we can do but to do this.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Jason, John?
One other thing, is that 178, will we have to pay any kind of insurance tax on that as well? Or a bond tax of some
Ben,
sort?
Charlie, do y'all want to speak more on that?
Sure, yes, absolutely. Actually, yes, in finalizing our full proposal here and everything, we actually, we're back and forth with the bond company a bit, and actually just confirmed that yes, they're going to charge for a minor amount for tax as well. For all bonds written in the state of Kentucky, there's a small tax, and so it's to the ultimate tune of about just north of $3,200
Okay, all right.
that would be applicable
So
on
it
this
pushes
as
a little
well.
above 181 then, so, okay, yeah. Mr. Chairman, it's in order, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and execute those bonds as discussed here in the meeting.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is public comment. Kathy, we have anybody signed up?
We do not, and we did not have any web comments this month either.
Well, and I might just mention, this has kind of come up, people have asked before, and just so the public knows, when someone makes a complaint to the plant board, we see it, staff advises us how it's handled, if it's been resolved, and, what the problem was. So I want people to understand that if they do have a concern with something, any complaint they have, and it comes, the board does see it. I mean, it's not hidden somewhere. We see it and we see what happens to it, in order to, hopefully get it resolved for people, so. Okay. Mr. General Manager, you want to take it away?
Yeah. We started the department report. First is public information. Is Cassie.
It's like she's coming in from backstage.
Yeah, you wonder where she's at the other time,
All right. Hello. I brought notes with me today because there's so much to talk about. I do want to share some information that we're sharing with our customers, and I want to make sure that anyone who's watching our meeting has this information. We have notified our customers who are currently on ACP that program is ending.
So Congress has not taken any action to.
That's right. So
There's a surprise.
2 weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago, the Federal Communications Commission, they officially announced that the last fully funded month for ACP is going to be April. Since we bill ahead of time, that means that the March bills for our customers are going to be the last ones with that benefit on there. So we have notified them.
How many customers is that?
I think it's around 800.
And it's how much a month?
$30 a month. So we have notified our customers that the bill they receive in March for April services will be the final bill that the ACP benefit will be applied to. And due to that change, there will no longer be that discount on the internet shown on their bill. They have the opportunity, if they want to change the level of their service or whatever, they can give us a call. They can go online and we can work with them to figure out kind of the best plan that's going to fit them.
And this is not the plan board, this is nationwide.
It's a federal program.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So again, you can call 352-4372 to get information about that, or have somebody kind of go through what the different levels of the internet packages are.
Okay.
All right. That's the bad news.
Okay.
We also have, I know Travis will probably be mentioning, but something that we're making sure that our customers know is that we're having a company, FPB has hired Osmos Utility Services to inspect and treat our wood poles. And that's going to be a process over the next 2 to 3 years. And we just want our customers to know that this is happening. They're going to need access to all of our FPB wood poles. And so if you see someone who's not FPB and you see Osmos, that's us. We've given them some magnets to put on their vehicles.
So their
that
trucks will be
say-
marked, and will they have IDs?
Yes.
Okay.
Travis says yes.
Yeah, they won't, we don't usually give them a plant board ID, but they'll have a plant board sticker on their truck and then an
Yeah.
Osmos ID.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that work is going to start on April 1st. And so we just want our customers to know that that's happening as well.
And let me ask this, Kathy or Travis.
Uh-huh.
If somebody sees somebody,
Yeah.
and we talked about the truck should be marked and everything, but if a customer sees somebody and they have a question about what's going on,
Yeah.
can they just call
Just call us.
our regular number and we can confirm,
352-4372.
and we can
and-
confirm that it's legitimate, that that's who's there, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll make sure that our customer service reps have that info as well. And again, that work will be starting on April 1st. And then the other piece of information that we're sharing with customers is the one that we've been talking about for about a year now, and that's the water service line inventory. We just want people to be paying attention, that this is something that we have been asked to do and by the federal government. We have been conducting a water service line inventory, and that means on our part and on our customers' part. So we are asking our customers to take a look at their water line and let us know what the material is. I did mine, and it's copper. So I took a picture. I went to fpb.cc/service line inventory and filled out a survey, and also sent in a picture of where my water line comes into the house. It took me about 2 minutes.
Yep.
So I know for a lot of people it might not be that easy, because the access to, for where the water line comes into their house might be different for most. Luckily for me, and hopefully for other people, you can just walk down in your basement and find it and see it. So if you have any questions about that, you can give us a call. Again, you can call 352-4372, and they can get you to the water department to figure out where we need to go from there. But we're getting to the point where we're starting to get on crunch time, because we have to have that inventory done by October of this year. So it's something we've been talking about for almost a year now.
And we have a handy dandy video on our website.
There
that
is
will
a
show you
video
how
on the
to do it.
website that shows you exactly how to do it. We appreciate Scott
That
Stafford.
I took down to the basement with me. And,
Exactly.
yeah, was able to
Well,
do it. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have Scott Stafford with me in my house, who knew exactly how to do it, and we got it figured out. So
An inside deal.
it is, yes.
I think around 10 ought to go to the chairman's house.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
crawl underneath the house.
Yeah, or watch me crawl underneath the house to do it, yeah.
Well, we did a nice video at my house to show how easy it was.
Yeah.
There you go.
So again, we're just asking our water customers to do that if you can, and I think we're hitting neighborhood by neighborhood. Our water department is getting out there to see what they can do to help get these completed. The last thing I want to say is that this Thursday, we're having Together Frankfurt here in our community room again. We've been doing that every month. On the third Thursday, I believe, they're having their Civics 101 series. And this week, it's just about our city and county government. And our mayor and county judge will both be here. They're both on the panel. So we're expecting a very lively discussion. So come on out Thursday night right here in this room at 7 o'clock and learn a little bit about our city and county government.
And will we televise that or be?
Cable 10 will be here.
Okay.
We are recording that, and we'll have it ready for playback on Cable 10, and then it'll also be on our YouTube channel. So,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Okay.
John,
Yes, sir.
couple of questions. Back to the cable subsidy money, or the internet. How many of those, do we know how many of the people that took advantage of that program were on the minimum program? Is that $25 a month? Or is it more than that now, the minimum?
The lowest priced.
The lowest price program?
It's $45, $44.
44, yes,
Yeah.
the
that's
current,
the lowest,
yes, the
okay.
current 25 meg
Yeah.
service is $44. And we do have that data, sir. I think it's maybe even around 850. We could definitely break that down and get it to you.
No, I actually, I don't. I just was thinking about what kind of hardship perhaps that it's going to cause someone, and what kind of extra money we're going to make from it in some sense, because of where it is. Do you think so they can stay at 40? They can stay at that 25 meg. As
And
long as they
actually,
pay the money themselves, they can stay.
and actually would just be, when the money goes away, if they have to start paying it, we'll still be at a break even, right?
Yeah.
Because that's,
We got the money, we ended up getting the money from the feds. We were always whole, correct?
yeah, because we'd already discounted the rate.
For the most
And then
part.
we got reimbursed.
There's some technicalities with the system that you would have credit claimed by another utility, and then we were able to attach it to a customer. So there were some credits we weren't able to get applied, but for the most part, we
Almost
did get
all.
reimbursed. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the biggest thing, yep, I was gonna say, the biggest thing that we can do for customers is if it is gonna be a hardship, is to help, if there's a cheaper tier to find for them, to get them close to what their cash outlay was before, is to get them to that, to keep their service, correct? I
Yeah,
mean, if they had a higher tier and they lose that $30, then
yeah, they can go to just our basic.
we can give them to a lower tier and
25.
they can still keep service. Yeah,
That's why I'm suggesting just call us.
Yeah.
Because, it'll be different for everybody who's
Yeah.
on it. They're probably all on different levels.
Mm.
And so, yeah, just call us and we'll see what best meets your needs.
Gary?
I heard the nationwide is large, like 22 million people
Wow.
on the ACP program. Yes.
My second question deals with the people coming around about the polls. Do we keep an inventory of those magnets we give out? Because I know a lot of people, even when they see a magnet, if they know there's insurance that magnet is not just pulled off somebody's car and put on another, they will feel more comfortable. Because this is the time of year when those kinds of fraudulent and things happen. So do we keep an inventory of who we get those magnetic tags to and make sure that we get them back?
I'll let our operations people answer that. Adam says yes.
Okay.
We have them printed and we give them to our operations crew. I'll let them address that when they come up for their turn to speak. They'll all get a turn. But we do want to make sure that those contractors are, it's visible to our customers that they are working with us, contracted with us, because it is very important that we get to those polls. So I want to thank our customers again for any inconvenience that might cause, but we're here just to getting those polls maintained. It's going to be better in the long run in case for in emergency situations or in a storm. It could be dangerous to have old poles or broken poles already out there, so we want to make sure
And we can assure people that one will be in and out. Nobody's going to try to sell you anything.
No.
Or come into your home.
No.
They don't need to get in your home or anything. They just need to go look at the pole, get out there.
They're just making sure those poles are still safe,
Yeah.
and if those poles are on your property, you want them to be.
But if they try to sell
in
you
good
encyclopedias or something, it's not us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So again, I'll let Travis and Adam hit that when they're up here if there's any other questions about that. So if there's nothing else, I appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman,
you.
real
Catherine?
quick,
Oh, yep.
just to kind of follow up on what Mr. Mason was asking. If we don't already have it on our data, I would love to know what was sort of the total value, total amount that people were able to take advantage of from that federal grant. And I just appreciate staff. I remember with the earlier iteration, I mean, it took some work. It took some quick work to take advantage of that program for our customers. And then, of course, all the ongoing work of advertising it and educating the public about it. So I just appreciate all that hard work staff did to get it. And I would just love to know kind of what that dollar figure looks like in the end.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, I appreciate that, and we'll see about putting together that information
Yeah.
for the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Gary?
Mr. Chairman, yes, next is the NOC, Network Operations Center, our director, Darren.
Darren, it's spring, it's that time.
It is.
Gonna be digging, a lot of locating.
Busy season,
Yes.
that's right, that's okay. Good evening. So your February NOC report's located on page 89 of your book. It looks like in February, the NOC took 467 trouble calls. We handled 1,764 phone calls. And on the locate side of the house, started to get a little uptick, 552 locates for the month of February. This month will be obviously quite a bit more than that. So we've done 4,641 so far this fiscal year. So yeah, it's busy time, but that's okay. We've been there before.
Are you still fully staffed on your
Yeah.
locators?
We're
Good.
fully staffed, yep. Fingers crossed. Any questions? I can answer
No,
for you?
any questions?
No, nothing? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, next is our customer service supervisor, APERC on the reporting of customer service.
Good evening. You can find the customer service reports on pages 91 through 95. So customer service, we assisted 8,911 customers in the month of February. I am happy to report that our wait times have declined, so we are back into our normal range of about a minute to a minute and a half. Last month, the tier 1 was about a minute and 44 seconds, and this month we were under a minute. So I was pretty excited to see that because we haven't seen anything under a minute since May of last year. So definitely good news there. We continue to work to keep those wait times down for our customers and be respectful of their time. Also wanted to update you all the last couple of months. I've talked about kiosks. You're all probably tired of hearing about kiosks, but I'm excited about kiosks. They're going to be a really good thing for our customers. They are finally here. So we have them. They're down in the basement. We'll spend the next 2 to 3 weeks testing those and hopefully have those ready for our customers come May.
And I just wanted to say, for our customers, and I think anybody who calls anyone else, whether it's a credit card company or a bank, or calls anybody, how incredible a 1 minute wait time is.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's just beyond.
Years ago, it's been 5 or 6 years ago, we had wait times of about 5 to 6 minutes. And so we actually had a goal of getting that to 2 minutes. And then once we reached the 2 minute goal, we, shot for the stars and we're like, okay, let's see if we can do better. And so then 1 minute has kind of been our standard and our goal for ourselves. But yeah, no, 1 minute. I mean, the fact that we're back there now, we're pretty excited about, and that can be, some of the projects that we have going on. One of the main things, I know in January, I reported to you all that we had changed the way that we were working our walk-in customers because previously they were in 2 separate programs, and so now they're all coming through one program, which is making it more efficient. I've seen, the productivity of my CSRs has went up as well as the efficiency because they're not having to work out of multiple programs, and the customers are just being given to whoever's been idle the longest. So that's definitely, I think that this February was the first month that we've seen a full month of that. So I think that probably has a lot to do with that and that new phone system that we implemented in September. And so we'll continue to work on things like that to make it even better.
Yeah.
So,
Jason, John,
any
Catherine?
questions? Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is our telecommunication. Adam, can you give a report?
Good afternoon. The outage report starts on page 99 of the board package with customer numbers. Page 100 and 101 are the outages for the month. We had one outage. It was an automobile accident. Hit a fiber line that had to be respliced. Trouble calls are down from this time typically that we see, so that's a good sign. Next band, we got contractors working pretty much all over the system. We did just turn on a good portion over there by the hospital, the Heritage, Middleview subdivisions all have been turned on. I'd say we're close to 75% plus complete. We'll probably hopefully bring some good news back during budget cycle when we're gonna wrap the project up. So working on that right now. As far as the contractors, what we do is if a contractor goes in the house, we provide them with an ID. And typically our IDs, our plant board internal IDs are horizontal, our contractor IDs are vertical. So anybody that goes in the house, we issue them an ID. We've probably had a couple signs slip out of subcontractors, but we kind of really lean hard on the prime contractor to keep up with all the signage for the vehicles. We had another issue that we use magnets, and they got some aluminum bodies out there now, so we've had to be creative on some of that. And so when it comes to the construction crews, there are multiple people. We're talking to Mike. We issue the foreman a plant board ID instead of the whole crew. But that way, if there's a crew out, at least one person should have a plant board ID with them. So hope that answers Steve's question.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is the electric department. Ross going to do the operation report.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Board. The electric department departmental reports of your board package starts on page 101. You can see our reliability numbers for the month of February 2024. Our SAIDI numbers for the month are 45.383. Page 102 kind of breaks down those service interruptions we had with the chart. Page 103 again lists those interruptions with the total number of 22 outages for the month of February. And then page 104 is the top 10 outages for the month. I do want to bring your attention to that start date there. I apologize for that. That is, you have some bad data here. This is actually from 2023, and I apologize. I don't know how that got slipped in there. I didn't notice it till this morning. Our actual numbers for this year are a lot greater, a lot better than they were last year. I'll just give you just the two top outages we had was Chinook, Indian Hills area. We had about 60 customers out over there. We had a pole that got burned into, some three-phase on it. Took us about 4.5 hours to restore that. And then on Oversells Road, we had a tree fall down through some primary. Took us about 1.5 hours to get that up, affected about 40 customers. So other than that, that's pretty much it for our reliability numbers for the month, and I'll entertain any questions you have.
Any questions? Jason, John, Catherine? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Travis going to do next for the engineer and also some of the meter, right? Thank you.
Right, we got your SEPA and your AMI report ready here. The SEPA report begins on page 105 of your board package. So this will be for the month of January. Our total SEPA bill was $81,687, which is pretty much the same every month. Our net payment for the SEPA was $323,901 for a profit, if you will, to the board of $242,213. So 2024 is off to a good start on SEPA. Any questions on that?
How's that track, David, with what your hopes and dreams are for?
Yeah, we're hoping we can come in on target this
Okay.
year.
And so for the AMI report, we have crossed 70% of our installs, both for electric and water. That's comes out to 15,834 electric meters and 11,949 water meters. So starting to see a little light at the end of the tunnel. Water has received or is close to receiving all of their material, so it's just a matter of time and weather cooperating for them to wrap up. Electric has probably one more, maybe two more shipments to get all the material, and then again, same case, time and weather cooperating, we'll get it done finally. Everybody will be very happy about that. To Mr. Mason's questions, the AMI reminded me the only truck magnets that I can recall that electric has given out was for that AMI process. That had our logo and UMS. They were the contractor, so probably not likely to be repurposed, but anyways, from what I can recall, those were recovered and destroyed. I think going forward, one thing we could do is when you do the statement of work, a lot of times you'll have a closeout process. I think that would be a good idea for us to start integrating that in.
That they turn the signs in to get
Turn
final
in-
payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Turn in signs and any IDs. Like I said, typically for electric, we don't do a plan board ID for a contractor. I could see a reason to go either way. The only time we've done it is if they need access to a gate or building, but that's just generally been
Yeah.
our philosophy. I think there's good and bad to both.
But that might be hands in any contract where we're using a contractor to put something like that in there where all that has to be turned in before they can get their final payment. Yeah.
Any questions on AMI or SEPA? And I think Kathy covered everything. I don't really know what else to add on the pole inspections. I think she knocked it out. Just, reiterate, those contractors will be out there for the good of the customer. If there's a bad pole in their yard, they want us to find it. It's good for them and good for us. So anywhere they can help us is much appreciated.
And they won't have anything to do with replacing the poles. They'll just be identifying, right?
Correct. Yes. They're just going to find the bad ones. If they can be treated with like a wrap and some kind of treatment, they'll do so. But if it has to be changed, that'll be, as of right now, that'll be the plant board.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Chairman, next is the KYMEA. I really don't have much new, except
Okay.
you have any question.
Catherine, Steve, any questions on KYMEA? Okay.
Next is the safety.
Good evening. Safety report is on page 109, it goes to 110. Month of February was a good month. We had 0 vehicle accidents and 0 recordables. If you have any questions about that.
Zero's good.
Yeah, 0's a good number.
Yeah.
So, we do start CPR training tomorrow morning, 7:30 for you.
Yes. No.
No, but we got it tomorrow, Wednesday, then Friday, we got it all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Next week?
Yep.
Okay.
So if you all want to attend,
Yes.
come on over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is our water distribution superintendent, Brian.
Good afternoon, Board. The monthly water distribution report is on pages 111 through 113. We installed 7 new services. We had 2 main breaks and 1 outage, so we had a pretty good month. Looking at our main breaks the last couple of months, we've been very fortunate, so that's going very well. Besides the normal board report, we completed our Rosewood line replacement project. We're going to be starting our annual flushing program the 1st of April, so you'll see us come around flushing hydrants. And also we have some work to do down at the Capitol Annex. We got some water line relocation work to do, and they're putting in a new pit that we have to feed, so we're going to be down there in April too.
Okay.
So we're going to be busy, so. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is a water treatment plant, Brandon Power, superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of February, the water treatment plant treated 215,204,000 gallons of water for an average daily production of 6.94 million gallons per day. Lock 4 averaged 13,630 cubic feet per second for an average of 8.8 billion gallons per day, going over Lock 4. And there were 3 inches of rainfall recorded for this month of February. And if you got any questions, I'd be happy to ask them or answer them.
Anybody? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now, for the next 3 hours, it's all going to be Harvey Couch.
Watch my blood pressure go up with every.
I figure we just do around 10 tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate your patience as we work through all of these. First item is staff recommending approval of the INSP renewal. This is an NCTC agreement with a term through March 30 of 2026. INSP is on preferred cable. Channel 164 contains programming focused on delivering positive, family-friendly entertainment, and it's the second most watched preferred cable network. We've carried it since 2015, and there's not been a fee associated with this channel, and that trend continues with this new agreement. And Assistant General Manager has reviewed it, and it meets with his approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Questions? John? Catherine? Steve? Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the INSP renewal, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's approved. Thank you.
Next item is retransmission consent agreement with Gray Television. Every 3 years, FPB must renegotiate these retrans agreements with all the local broadcasters in Lexington and Louisville. And if you'll recall, during the budget process, staff discussed the possibility of removing some of the duplicate broadcasters. Back in December, the board approved 3 agreements, and in January approved 2 more. And these are the last ones. The NCTC recently executed an agreement with Gray for the 2 remaining channels. That's the CBS out of Lexington, WKYT, and NBC out of Louisville, Wave. Staff and the Cable Advisory Committee recommend approving the agreement for WKYT and not approving the agreement for Wave. Staff believes that carrying newscasts out of Louisville is of utmost importance to our customers. We've committed to carrying WHAS and WLKY out of Louisville for the next 3 years. However, as the costs to our customers continue to rise, all options must be considered. Wave is the most expensive of the 3 Louisville networks, and their viewership is the lowest. Staff will, should the board take this action, staff will continue to engage with Gray and also Block Communications for WDRB in the case that a mutually beneficial agreement can be reached. The staff attorneys reviewed these agreements. They meet with his approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Does Gray, I assume, realize they knew that this action, that we were going to look at this, correct?
Well, I mean, they did a deal with the NCTC, and all the members of the NCTC can either opt in or not. We'll reach out to them. There's a 60-day notice period, so I think staff would recommend that we leave it up over that period and use that as a time to try to negotiate a better rate and a direct deal.
Because we had this happen once before several years ago with a different station, and then they came back, right?
It worked out pretty well, so we would hope that we could maybe do that again.
But if not, I'm sorry, John, go on.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so the bottom line is, this is the least watched network. If we keep it, then our ratepayers are even going to pay more than what they're paying now.
Right.
And so if we drop it, they could still watch, they won't lose any of the NBC content. They can still watch that on Lexington.
WLAX.
It's just the local news.
And they can still watch Louisville news on WHAS.
On 2 other channels.
And WLKY. Yes, sir.
John, I've got a couple comments. I'm going to make the same speech I make every 3 years, it seems like.
You don't want to save it for the public hearing item?
No, I can make it again. I pretty much have.
No, he just warming up for the public hearing.
You know, I'm going to go back. I started out here. My first experience with the FPB was I was put on the Cable Advisory Board. Back then, it was a different time. It was a different set of laws. And, you know, if these broadcasters, you know, the problem we had the reverse problem back then. We had people saying, oh, you can get our signal, you have to carry us. Of course, we didn't pay for it at that time. But now we're at the thing where if we want to carry these folks so we can pull out over the air, they're charging us a tremendous amount. And we're going to see later, we're going to start we're going to ask for a public hearing here shortly, and the broadcast channels alone, at the end of this 3-year agreement, is going to be over $35. $35 out of your cable. If you're upset at what your cable bill cost, you be upset at the broadcast channels. I mean, because they were the ones. That's a $35 charge that was not on the thing at all 20 years ago at all. So, and you know, $1-2 is fine, but you know, I can't give out individual numbers, but you take that 35 and divide it by 5, you know, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what you're paying per channel. So, I want to go up to the line but not cross it. But, you know, I just want to say, you know, I don't think the law is going to change. I think the broadcasters are too strong in Washington. I don't think Congress is going to make anything to change this. And I am a Louisville person. I like having advance notice if the weather's coming our way. I think it is vital. I think at the end of the next 3 years, we're probably going to be down to one Louisville station and one Louisville station only. I just don't think we can afford it anymore. So because this trend isn't going to stop. Now the question I have after I've made that little speech, if we go back to Gray, we are part of the NCTC. It's helped us a lot.
Yes.
Can we go outside of the NCTC and talk to Gray directly?
I think
Does that cause us any problems?
I certainly would let them know that we were doing that. I think once we're through the opt-in period, the NCTC is established. Once we sort of pass that, then I think any direct engagement is, I mean, we're clearly legally allowed to do that.
Right,
But I think as far as maintaining positive relationships,
Absolutely.
I think we would be fine to do that.
Absolutely. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that's fine.
I mean, we did that with the other
Right,
broadcaster
right,
a few years
right.
ago.
Right. And, you know, I mean, even, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't even know if they come back with a reduced rate. I just don't think I could add, I just don't think I'd be of a mind to add much more onto the bills we're gonna be, they have to be charged.
Understood.
So, yeah, but, no, I appreciate Charles' efforts on this, and I know it's been a continuing issue y'all have had, and I know NCTC's put a lot of work into it as well, and I really appreciate them, because we really are a voice in the wilderness without them. I mean, the small guys are really at a disadvantage otherwise, so.
So the bottom line is, if we'll notify Gray of what the boards, if the board elects to go this route.
Right. We'll notify our customers as well.
Right,
you know,
and
in
then
that process.
during the next 60 days, if Gray wants to come back to the table, that option's still on the table, the
Right.
board could reconsider that action.
Yep.
If they want to come back to the table
Well,
with
essentially,
a
we
different
will,
fee.
the action that we're asking you tonight is to not execute the NCTC agreement.
Okay.
Anything that would come back would be a direct agreement between us and Gray,
Okay.
and then it would be for you to decide to do or not.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, if it's in.
Well, let
if
me
it-
ask,
no, go
Catherine,
ahead.
Steve,
No.
Jason? I mean, I think, you know, want our customers to know we don't take this lightly at all, but at some point, unless, I mean, we're making the judgment, and I think it's the correct judgment, that at some point our customers want us, as long as we can provide quality service and variety of channels, at some point they do want us to stand up and say no. Because our part was, Harvey, $12 a month, roughly?
Yeah, $12.79.
And we're not
Of the
changing our
entire
numbers.
cable.
What
We haven't changed it forever.
No,
Right.
our cost.
I'll show you that
Yeah,
in just a few
yeah,
minutes.
is not changing. This is all what we're being asked to charge and pass through, so.
Right. And if you recall too, we did actually take Wave off the
Yeah.
channel lineup, I think it was 6 years ago
Right.
at this time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's a little bit of, you know, around and around we go and see who does best.
Yeah. John?
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, then I would like to make a motion that we approve the agreement with Gray for WKYT, which is CBS, the CBS affiliate out of Lexington, and that we not approve the agreement for Wave, which is the NBC affiliate out of Louisville.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's approved. Harvey, just real quick, is WKYT is our most popular, right?
I
Is that
believe
correct?
it is. I have that.
For some reason I was thinking.
And part of it is how we compare these are from a local news standpoint,
Right.
because obviously the affiliation is going to have, you know, a big impact on it. And I thought I had this, but I'm not finding
Yeah,
it.
for some reason I was just thinking that WKYT is, if not first, it's second in terms
it's
of most
usually
popular.
KYT and LEX are going to be your top two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Harvey, number 6.3, consider approving Nexstar letter.
Yes, so again, if you recall, you guys executed the agreement back in December with Nexstar. We found a drafting error once we had our first invoice from them, where they were charging us for 3 of the multicast channels instead of the 2 that we had agreed on, and so they have generated this letter agreement that basically firms up the language that we had agreed on in principle through the negotiation. So this will save us money from having to pay on 2 instead of 3 of these multicasts. So I was happy to see that they were willing to stick to their word, even though we put it in writing. So, so just asking you guys to approve this letter agreement.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's approved. Item 6.4, consider approving public hearing notice covering number 1, increasing rate for retrans surcharge, number 2, increasing rate for cable network pass-through fee, number 3, increasing rate for bulk cable 1 and bulk cable 2. 4, establishing retention, tier lineup, and pass-through fee. Number 5, updating sections 5, 10, and 12 of the tariff. Harvey?
Okay, this is a long one, so please feel free to stop me if you guys have any questions as we go through at any time. As always, these rate increases are direct pass-throughs. Here, I want to pull up my stuff here real quick so everybody can see. That, and then that. Okay. That is, sorry. Okay. So this first item is the retrans surcharge. We, do this every 3 years. Many of these agreements included significant increases. And again, this is a direct pass-through fee to all of our cable customers. Unfortunately, they require, their channels to be distributed to all customers. There's no ability for a la carte carriage. Our current retransmission surcharge is $27.25. The public notice proposes to increase the surcharge to $29.89 per month effective June 1st, $32.63 effective January 1st of 25, and then $35.69 effective January 1st of 26. And you can see what, is this a hockey stick graph? I think this might count as a hockey stick. Since really, 2013, but really accelerated in the last 8 years. So again, sort of did the best we could in the negotiations, but again, this is just pass through of the fees that they're levying on us. Any questions on that item?
Let me just ask you, in the future, for our customers, and I know we've got a cable advisory committee and they do a great job. At some point, just for example here, we're currently sitting at 27.25, and like John referenced, by 2026, this particular retrans, which is the broadcast channels, are wanting to go to 35 and some change. At some point, do we reach the point of saying to customers, is this really what you, do we say, do you want just one Louisville and one,
I think,
where does this go?
Right. The crystal ball's a little cloudy.
Yeah.
But 3 years from now is a lot of time in this industry. It'll be interesting to see where the broadcasters, they're kind of dipping their hands in a lot of different pots right now, and this one where we are might start drying up a little bit, and
because it seems like they're killing the golden.
Right.
It's like we want everything we can get,
Yeah.
and sooner or later that's got to run out on them, and somebody's going to say, we just don't want your product anymore.
Right. I think when you see more and more internet, streaming availability to customers where they can go get it themselves, I think it'll become easier for providers to say, I don't know why I'm paying you for something that you're giving away to everybody else. So I think for sure in 3 years, there's going to be some hard decisions that may not be that hard.
Yeah.
But I think there may need to be some changes in our stance with these guys.
Yeah.
So, anything else on this one?
No.
The next item is increasing the rate for the cable network pass-through fee. Several years ago, we broke out this fee on the customer bill to show exactly the amount that the customer is paying for their cable networks. These rates increase every year as part of their agreements, and so again, this is a direct pass-through of those channels. Currently, it's $63.81. We're proposing to increase it to $67.85. It's a 4% increase. The customer charge of $12.79 will remain the same, and the total for all of Classic Cable will be $110.53. And you can see all of that stuff up there is stuff that is leaving Frankfurt to the cable network owners and the broadcast groups, and the $12.79, which is not changed in 4 years, is the amount that will stay here in Frankfurt. So again, these are expenses that have already been, we've signed those agreements. These are costs that we're going to be paying, and we just need to pass them on to our customers.
And so in reality, if you would adjust it for inflation, our costs have actually theoretically even gone down as a percent of,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's the one chart, and then this is just that same data shown just in a percentage standpoint. So 11% of your bill is staying here in Frankfurt, and 89 is leaving. And then the final item, the next item is for bulk cable. These are the services that we provide to hotels and dormitories. That's bulk cable 1. And these just increase at the same percentage that we increase our cable rates. So bulk cable 1 proposed to increase from $16.20 to $17.24. And bulk cable 2, which is office buildings with more than 8 outlets, would increase from $28.14 to $29.95. And again, this is just the same increase as what we're proposing in the first 2 items. Any questions on that? All right. Item 4 is our retention tier lineup. This is something we've talked about for several years. But as the cost of cable TV continues to rise, many customers are finding themselves priced out of the service, and main driver of that is live sports rights fees. Staff and the Cable Advisory Committee recommend establishing a new retention tier that would include some popular cable TV content, but not any networks that show live sports. This tier is called a retention tier because the language in our existing agreements limits how we can market it to our customers. We're also limited in how many customers can subscribe to this service. So there could be a point, there's a percentage penetration cap. So there could be a point where we can no longer offer it to additional customers. The tier would only be available through our streaming app, so customers would need to subscribe to Nextman Stream in order to subscribe to the retention tier. And again, these customers, like all cable TV customers, would need to pay for the retransmission surcharge. So this public notice proposes to establish the pass-through fee for this tier at $14.20. That's the cost of these channels on the right side of the screen, the retention tier channels. And then the additional $12.79, the customer charge, and then the $29.89 retrans surcharge. And that gets you a total of $57.10 for this tier.
So that would save you, if you're currently on classic cable.
Yes, sir.
That would save you $46
Where that is
$46
at
a month?
110.53.
Oh, yeah, more than that,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Almost
$53
half,
less.
Yeah.
No sports, but again, you get news, you get, entertainment, movies, lifestyle type things. And so we do think that there's some folks that are not interested in sports that could benefit from a package like this.
You get the KT channels?
Yeah.
And you get MeTV, John. Just put that down, buddy.
I know how important that is for a very particular demographic that I'm not quite at yet.
And Cable 10, you get your General Assembly coverage when they're here on 17 and 18, or 16 and 17 rather. Yeah. So, so we're just asking to have the public hearing on establishing this tier and the associated rate.
I think it's a really good idea.
Yes.
Harvey, let me ask you a question. How many folks do we have on the limited cable right now?
I don't. David, do you know that off the top of your head? I want to say 600-ish, but I could be wrong.
So those folks, if they wanted to move up,
they could move up
this,
a little bit.
You know, I mean, that would be the extra $15 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they could expand the programming they get
Right.
without going all the way out.
Right.
So, you know, so it could work both ways.
Yeah. Sure. And then the final item is an update to the tariff. You can see the proposed changes starting on page 141 of your board package, and we're proposing add the same language to the cable TV, internet, and local phone sections of the tariff as follows. From time to time, FPB may retire technology, and upon 60-day written notification to the customer, inform them of alternate service options. As technologies change, and as we approach a point where we may begin converting every customer in a certain neighborhood from HFC to fiber, we want to be able to point to something in our tariff that defines what we can do while also having a defined customer notification requirement. So discussed this with Hans. We felt this proposed language met that need. So happy to answer any questions on this or any of the other items.
Did we, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Harvey, did we want to try to, we're actually running a little bit late on getting the tariff approved. We normally would probably have already had I know we were backed up with
Yes,
some of
sir.
the negotiations.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to have a special meeting and then for the hearing and then vote on this at our next regular meeting in April, or what?
If that, if that works for the board, I think staff would certainly recommend
I mean,
that.
if anybody's been paying attention on any of this, they know this is coming. I mean, we've already talked about the other ones, and, Harvey has really kept us up to date if you've been following on the meetings. I'd be of a mind to that, if we could schedule that, Mr. Chairman.
Maybe a special meeting
We'll do a Zoom,
sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Do a Zoom meeting sometime, maybe.
Just anytime between now and the
Yeah.
April meeting. I know there's some notification requirements,
Right.
but
Okay.
So what are we looking at, Hans, in terms of when would be the earliest we could have the public hearing?
I think April 1 or 2.
Would
If
be
we
the
get it-
best.
If we can get it in the newspaper this coming weekend, we could do it as early as April 1st or 2nd.
Okay.
Or the 3rd, that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And then we'd have the public hearing, and then at the April regular meeting, we could consider.
Yeah, after we had that hearing.
So I guess for the board, if this is okay, Hans, if Jason, you, John, Catherine, and Steve could let Kathy know of those 3 dates, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, if there's any dates that don't work at all.
Well, and I need to get this to the newspaper by 9 o'clock in the morning to get it in the weekend edition.
So when you say you need to know soon, you need to know really soon.
Really soon.
Really. Steve, Catherine, Jason? Okay. John?
That is veto recess, so I can take time off and do whatever I need to do. So any of those days is fine.
Catherine, Steve, is a 2nd or 3rd, either of those dates not work for you all?
I'm good on other things.
I think they're fine with me. And I just wanted to point out that we usually go beyond the required, like the time to give notice, because after our public hearings, we typically extend opportunity for comment
Right.
all the way up until
The board meeting, yeah.
The day before
we
the board
actually
meeting,
vote.
right.
We don't have to do that, but it seems we always do
I
that.
think we should,
We
yeah,
will.
we ought to continue
And
that,
we
yeah.
will.
So, is it appropriate to do this, the public hearing by Zoom, or do we need to do it in person, Hans?
For public comment, that might be a technical, but I guess people's being able to zoom in, make comments might be you can conduct any meeting by video conference.
Okay.
According to the statute, but my question would be more of a technical one, is all of the members have to be visible on the meeting. So can we get people to, if somebody from the public wanted to zoom in, if somebody from the public wanted to zoom in and comment, that's the question. Can we manage that by?
So should we just try to do it in person?
It might be easier to do it in person.
And
You don't
if
wanna go for a
then-
noon or an
then-
afternoon?
Then if a member needs to zoom in,
Right.
we can do that as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right.
The statute, the members have to be able visible and heard, but the public can come in
Sure.
and speak. But the trick would be is how do we get the public in electronically, so to speak?
What's the best, I mean, I hear a lot of people in the community talk about that, while noon meetings might be more convenient sometimes, if people are getting off work or whatever, that an afternoon meeting probably is more conducive if somebody does want to come, where they don't have to take off work or whatever. So how about April 3rd at, say, 5? Does that work?
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine, Steve, is that okay with you all?
It's possible if I do it on the 3rd. If we do it on the 3rd, I'll have to come by Zoom.
How about the 2nd?
The 2nd, I can be in person.
Well, let's do it on April 2nd then at 5. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, that'll work.
Look at this democracy in action. April 2nd at 5 o'clock. We'll do the public hearing.
Sounds good.
Okay?
thank you all.
Are you done, or do we have to,
We need a motion.
we need a motion?
And a vote.
Okay.
Ms. Bowe.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to set the public hearing at April 2nd, 5 PM.
Right, and do we need it for the public hearing or for, yeah, that's just to set the public hearing, is all right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, April 2nd, 5, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you all. Next one is, we're gonna pass over 6.5, Leanne's has done a good, an exceptional job, and Steve and Ed has worked on it, and I think at this point, there's still some loose ends, so we'll probably bring this back next month and try to finalize. Is it okay with you, Steve?
I'm good.
Okay, you're good. Okay, item 6.6, consider approving a resolution, new water supply agreement to provide water to Farmdale Water District.
All right, good evening.
Sharmista?
Farmdale Water District is in the process of receiving USDA rural development funding for system-wide water line replacement work. And one of the requirements to receive the funding is to have a minimum 40-year water supply agreement. So Farmdale reached out to us and asked if we would prepare a new 42-year water supply agreement, and that just gives them a 2-year time frame to perform construction. So when they're ready, when the lines are replaced, the 40 years basically starts around that time. Another requirement for the funding is for our board, the water supplier, to also pass a resolution as well. So there's a copy of a resolution and the water supply agreement in your board package. And happy to do it, and we appreciate them being our customer, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So if we act on this, we'd be approving the water supply agreement and approving the resolution.
Correct.
Questions, Catherine, Steve?
I do have one question,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. How far are we into the current agreement we have with Farmdale?
They actually renewed it not too long ago.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, so it's 2018, roughly 2018, we did the
Okay.
last
So
agreement.
we're
That
just
was,
gonna extend it out, and it was a 40-year at that time, correct?
I think it was 40 or 42.
Okay.
So around the same.
We like 40-year agreements, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All the time.
All the time. Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the resolution, and also the new water supply agreement, to provide water to the Farmdale Water District as described by Sharmista just now.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The agreement, the water supply agreement is approved, and the resolution. The next, Sharmista?
You want to stay up here?
Yep.
All right.
Gary's all right, we'll go and let her deal with the KIA agreement.
Okay. So in November of 2023, I had requested the board to approve us to submit a loan application to the KIA, for Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, for $1.5 million, which would be eligible for 57% principal forgiveness. The project description is we were going to replace all of our old cast iron water lines along Logan and East 3rd Street, along with the service lines from the main to the meters and the meters to the home. So during the loan application process, KIA determined that the actual water line replacements in the road, the water mains in the road, were not eligible for funding. So it would only be limited to the service line replacements. So at this time, according to the rule, the lead and copper rule has been revised twice recently. One's called lead and copper rule revisions, and one's called lead and copper rule improvements. And in either ruling, these particular service lines are considered galvanized lines. They're not actually qualified for requiring replacement. So considering the loans only for service lines, it's just not cost effective to do just service line replacements. If you just go in and do all those individual road cuts, it's more cost effective to do the water main replacement and the service line replacement at the same time. So due to this fact that the service lines don't require replacement under the rule, and we can't include the water mains in the project, I'm recommending withdrawing our loan application at this time.
Does anybody have any questions for Sharmista? John? Jason?
I just think my wife will be happy that her front yard might not be dug up,
Okay.
so, you know.
Catherine, Steve?
No.
All those in favor of authorizing Gary and Sharmista to decline the loan, say aye.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll make
okay.
that motion to
Yeah,
decline
I'm
the
sorry.
loan based on the information given.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Not to not do it? Not to not have my water line done, you know.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion approved. Is that an anti-conflict of interest?
I have no idea. No idea. No idea.
I was wondering if we could add some to adult business.
Sure.
The solar grant has to be prepared for the applications.
Are we going to do that in closed because of the one particular? Or no, you're talking about the USDA.
one out here. The one
Yes,
out here.
yes.
The
I'm sorry.
USDA.
Go on. Yes.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Travis, do you want to be involved in that at all? Sure, yeah. Okay, sorry for being in the spot. Sure. No.
Travis didn't want to participate anymore in anything.
He gets paid the same amount of how many words he says.
That's right. Travis was telling me the other day how much he loved his job.
I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, please.
Great, well, we're making great progress on what was approved at the last board meeting. We're under duress because the application date was first, so this will be the last meeting we have to submit it.
Excuse me, is he on speaker?
Yes.
He is now.
Okay, sorry. So this will be the last meeting we have before the grant's due. We've had a team of grant writers that we hired who are doing the environmental, different aspects of the project. They've been making really good progress. I am familiar with this grant, so I'm kind of reviewing their process as they're going. Andy McDonald has already submitted to us the technical report, which is kind of the heart of the documentation. Me and Travis reviewed it. We made some comments, but overall it was very well done. And he's passed it on to the engineer, third-party engineer that was hired, who's going to review and stamp it. There might be a chance that this application is submitted by the end of the week. So I don't think that's a bad thing, because given the unique nature of the application, given our entity type, and just the largeness of the application complexity, giving the USD a week before the deadline to kind of look at it, give it back any feedback they might see off the top, especially within our financials or anything, it's a good move. So I'm kind of pushing the grant team, if they can, to submit it by. Talked to the environmental group today. They said that they should be able to, in the next day or so, fold their stuff in. So I think we're on pretty good track. Travis?
Yeah, not really a whole lot to add. I mean, I think we're in as good a position as we could be, you know.
For sure.
Good project team, good vendor lined up. Hopefully when the grant award comes in, fingers crossed, I think we'll be ready to roll. So, yeah, everything.
So for the update, I mean, we've already discussed it. The board's already authorized it. So when the grant's ready, Hans, you say it's got to be turned in on?
The latest is the 1st at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so at that point, when it's ready, am I authorized to sign it, or do we need to have a special Zoom meeting to authorize it going in, Hans, or what do we need?
I don't think you could, the board could authorize you to sign, and then once it's prepared, you go ahead.
Mike,
I thought we had already.
I would say that once you, once the application's prepared, the board could authorize you to sign today.
I thought we'd already authorized the grant application. Did we not?
But we did, but him signing the final.
Yeah, my question is,
product, I don't know if we-
is the board comfortable? Do we need any additional action for me to actually sign it, or?
I think we've already, in my view, we've already authorized the grant application, so it's obvious that somebody's got to sign it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
the
don't think
board-
that's an issue.
Yeah, the board actually is just a matter of comfort level. It'd be just a motion to authorize Mr. Cubine to sign, and I mean, whatever the board is comfortable with. But I think Mr. Schneider, the board speaks, kind of as a group, and like you point out,
We've already had a meeting where we made a motion to approve doing the grant.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I mean, if you all would feel more comfortable with it, I'd be happy to make a motion to let John sign his name one more time. And
Well, let's go on and do that, just so that basically what the motion would be is that when the grant is, that the board authorizes me to sign the completed application and submit it.
Well, and if we're gonna make a motion, if we can, let's just shove another piece into that, because there was some question that you left to me and Travis to investigate the option
Right, the
one
rotating panels,
in
yes.
option two. After talking extensively, sorry, I was looking for you over there. After talking to extensively, asking a lot of questions about the motors and the mechanics, we felt pretty comfortable that Solar Energy Solutions knew what they were advocating for. We were actually getting a really good deal on the second option because of market penetration of this new company that was trying to kind of get their product out on the market and giving like a really low price for it. And that, so we went ahead and went with the option 2, which would mean the community solar array would still be open for in the future if we want to expand it, and we go into the back and just build the entire array. And then for PR and tours of people who wanted to see the array, this would be an easier story, because we could say it's this array, not that part of the array over there and this part of the array over there. It's just an easier story to sell. So we went forward with that. So if you want to roll down the motion too, that the board understands that, and they've already, we can just sort of nip all that in the bud.
I'd make the motion to go with option 2, which was the ones that ones that did track, correct?
Single axis tracking.
They will track. And then also have you sign the grant application prior to the deadline.
So we have that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's approved. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for all your
Appreciate
hard work on it.
Well, of course, and Travis.
Thank you. Tomorrow, based on Amy's emails today, so I'll get in touch with you.
And just let me know, yeah.
Yeah, I told him just to let me know, and we'll get it done.
And if the motors fail, then Travis comes out and with a crank and moves
The
it.
director set, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
He could manually just sit there and
we don't
move
have an
it.
engineer on staff.
That's right. Gary, did you have anything else under general manager comments?
No. No, I don't.
Does anybody else have anything under old or new business? Okay, if not, Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I request, I'd like to make a motion to request permission to call closed session for 3 different reasons. The first being under KRS 61810-1C to discuss pending or proposed litigation regarding collection matter, advertising matter, breach of contract matter, employment matter, cost recovery matter, and a regulatory matter. Also pursuant to KRS 61810-1G to discuss a specific proposal that if openly discussed would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business. And finally, under KRS 61810-1B, to deliberate on the future acquisition of real property, since publicity would likely affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're going in closed session. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay. Are we?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to come out of closed session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yet we took no action during the closed session. We made no direction or anything, and no action during the closed session, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned.